My boyfriend scheduled and paid for plastic surgery on my lady region without my knowledge or consent, and now I clearly see the obvious tumor that needs to be removed from my life. I never imagined that a tiny birthmark would become the catalyst for exposing the sinister truth about my relationship. At 24, I found myself entangled with a man, 26, who, over our year and a half together, had shown subtle signs of being controlling that I'd naively dismissed as mere protectiveness. We'd shared a home for 6 months, and on the surface, everything seemed picture perfect. If only I'd known how that facade would soon shatter. The birthmark in question adorns my intimate area, a small, innocent mark no larger than a pencil eraser that's been part of me since birth. It's completely harmless, invisible even in the most revealing swimwear, and only noticeable in the most private moments. Yet, I'd caught my boyfriend's subtle expressions of distaste whenever he encountered it. The slight curl of his lip, the almost imperceptible wrinkle of his nose. When confronted about these reactions, he'd deflect, claiming his expressions were unrelated. Once, he casually inquired if I'd ever considered having it removed, to which I firmly stated my acceptance of this natural part of myself. For my recent birthday, he presented what seemed like a thoughtful gift, a year's prepaid membership at the upscale med spa where I'd been getting Brazilian waxes since my teenage years. The spa offered various services beyond waxing, everything from tattoo removal to Botox. I was touched by what appeared to be such a considerate gesture, one that showed he'd paid attention to my routines and preferences. This morning, however, the true nature of his gift revealed itself in the most violating way possible. During my regular appointment, my longtime esthetician, beaming with misplaced admiration for my boyfriend's generosity, proceeded with the usual waxing routine. As I lay there, vulnerable and unsuspecting, waiting for the post-treatment oil to soak in, she produced an unfamiliar instrument. When I inquired about its purpose, her casual response sent chills down my spine. "Oh, this is for the freezing, before we remove the mole." The world seemed to tilt on its axis as the truth emerged through our awkward exchange. My boyfriend had secretly arranged and paid $200 for a cosmetic procedure, one that would require cutting into my body, anesthesia, and stitches, all without my knowledge or consent. The spa staff, having received what they believed was my signed approval, had simply slotted this invasive procedure alongside my routine waxing appointment. My hands trembled with a mixture of shock and rage as I gathered my belongings and fled the spa. The magnitude of this violation left me reeling, not just the attempted alteration of my body, but the calculated deception behind it. Throughout my workday, my mind raced between disbelief and fury, each passing hour intensifying my anger rather than diminishing it. That evening, as I crossed our threshold, my boyfriend's casual greeting felt like salt in an open wound. "How was your appointment?" he asked, his tone dripping with false innocence. I summoned every ounce of composure I possessed, my voice steady despite the storm raging within. "Let's talk about how you arranged to have part of my body surgically removed without my knowledge or consent," I replied, watching his face carefully for any sign of remorse. Instead, what I witnessed was even more chilling, a flash of annoyance, as if I were the unreasonable one. His response left me speechless. "I'm not sorry for trying to help you finally fix that imperfection. I was doing you a favor by making the decision you were too afraid to make." Then came the bombshell that shattered any remaining doubt about his character. "The only thing I regret is forging your signature on the waiver, but I knew you wouldn't do it otherwise." The world stopped spinning for a moment. "You did what?" The words escaped my lips in a whisper that could have cut glass. The waiver my esthetician had mentioned, I had assumed it was my annual service agreement. But no, my boyfriend had actually forged my signature on a surgical consent form. Living in South America, where cosmetic procedures are as common as morning coffee, I'm the only woman in my office without breast implants. Perhaps he thought this gave him the right to make decisions about my body. Born and raised in America, I've never fully embraced this aspect of the culture, but even here, forging medical documents crosses an unforgivable line. As the truth of his betrayal sank in, he began to cry, his tears failing to mask the manipulation behind his words. "I just wanted you to be the most beautiful you could be. Why can't you see that I'm thinking of your best interests?" In that moment, clarity struck like lightning. This wasn't love, it was control disguised as care, manipulation masked as concern. The anger that had been simmering all day crystallized into cold, clear resolve. Without shedding a single tear, I refused to give him that satisfaction. I spoke with an authority that surprised even myself. "Pack your things." "No." When he tried to protest, I cut him off with a gesture that brooked no argument. "You violated my trust, my body autonomy, and the law. There's no coming back from this." He gathered some clothes in silence, his previous tears forgotten in the face of my unwavering resolve. I directed him to move his remaining belongings to the detached garage, for which he still had a key. As I watched him surrender his house keys, a weight I hadn't even realized I'd been carrying lifted from my shoulders. The garage locks will be changed by the end of the week, I informed him, my voice steady and sure. You have until then to remove everything. The house is mine. One of the reasons I'd never fully surrendered to the local pressure to enhance myself was that I'd prioritized investing in property instead. Now, that decision felt more empowering than ever. Within hours, I had contacted a locksmith to change the main house locks, systematically removed him from my social media accounts, and begun the process of digitally excising him from my life. Some might call my response extreme, but those who do have never experienced the bone-deep violation of having someone they trusted attempt to literally cut away a part of them. His actions revealed a truth I couldn't ignore, that he saw me not as a partner to respect, but as a project to perfect according to his standards. As I sit here now, a glass of wine in hand and my phone open to newly downloaded dating apps, I find myself gently touching the small mole that catalyzed this revelation. This tiny part of me that he so desperately wanted to remove ended up removing him instead. The irony isn't lost on me. I know there will be moments of doubt, times when I'll miss the good parts of what we had. But right now, I feel something stronger than sadness or regret. I feel free. In a culture where women are often expected to modify themselves to meet others' expectations, I chose to stand firm in my self-acceptance. I may not have the enhanced features that seem mandatory in this corner of South America, but I have something far more valuable, the strength to be unapologetically myself. And as I raise my glass in a silent toast to new beginnings, I know with absolute certainty that I made the right choice. Sometimes the smallest things, like a pencil eraser-sized mole, can lead to the biggest revelations about who we are and what we deserve. Here's to freedom, to self-love, and to never letting anyone else make decisions about my body ever again.